I don't even need no intro for this video. Let's go right in. Welcome back to Hot Topics TV, y'all. Listen, YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend Mariah Hamilton is breaking her silence publicly for the first time in an exclusive interview with Law and Crime Network's Jesse Weber. Now, man, listen, if you saw this interview, right, what I want you to do is please understand that what you hear here on this channel here is my opinion of what I saw and what I heard. Nothing else. Okay. With that said, let's get into all this. First of all, I think I'm the only person who said this so far, but I still feel like Law and Crime are operating as if they are Melly's attorneys and they want to see him go free. It could be that they are remaining on the good side. For instance, any media house that says, hey, we watched that trial and that was some damning evidence. I was surprised they came back with a hung jury, or I was surprised it went on like this instead of them finding him guilty. I was sure they were going to find him guilty. Any media house or journalist that says that, if Melly ends up beating this case, then they will never get an interview and they will never be considered in good favor. So I think it's a strategic thing for Law and Crime to play the fence, right? Straddle the fence. That way, or even lean biasly towards Melly and his team and his fight for freedom, which attracts all the other people to them. And I said that from the beginning of the trial when I first got onto Law and Crime. Now, they're doing what they got to do, boost their ratings, boost their followers, all that other stuff. Is it from a genuine place? I don't know. Business is business. Strategy is strategy. Everybody plays to win. But at the end of the day, if you look, after that trial went to a mistrial, who was the first person that got an interview with YNW Melly's manager? Who was the first person that got an interview with YNW Melly's defense team, his attorneys? Now, who was the first person and only person with an interview from YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend and her mom? Right. So they have access to all this simply by playing the part of being on his side. Now, with that said, I follow Law and Crime because Law and Crime gets the scoop and they have the factual information, right? Okay. Now, moving on to that interview, as I saw that interview yesterday. First thing I said to myself before the interview even started, I was sitting with a group of people watching it. We made it an afternoon event to watch it together and share our views and opinions. And I said to the group before it even started, I said, she is not here to say anything bad at all about Melly. She won't. She wants her life back, right? And you got to understand that this runs deep. Yes, it runs deep. For instance, if she says anything bad which incriminates him or leads to the public seeing him as someone that is capable of killing his two friends, his brothers, Sack and Juvie, then it ultimately leads to others feeling like she stopped their payday. She put him away because he is the walking money bag. He is the artist that can generate a whole lot of cash. And if you think he was famous before, if he beats this case, he will be super famous after he beats this case. Murder and the kind of music he does goes hand in hand. Fighting a court case on a murder charge, being down, locked up for years, and then coming home, beating the case is a big deal in the rap hip hop community. It has just been that way. Why? Because a lot of these guys are street affiliated, gang affiliated. They are in the streets, or they're closely associated to individuals who are in the streets. They not only rap about toting guns and busting shots, they actually do it in real life. And some of them are eager to prove that they do it in real life. Well, she doesn't want to be that person. She wants to be the person who lets everybody know on the outside, his goons, his friends who are waiting for him to come home so they can get to some real money and some real clout, traveling, doing shows, right? And holding big stacks of money, popping bottles, smoking good. She doesn't want to be the person that stops that. Not to mention, it is rumored that her mother was paid off, right? If you remember during the trial, when the prosecutor asked her about a certain amount of money and where did it come from and what was it for, that certain amount of money came from Melly's manager. Also, when she did her interview with Law and Crime, if you notice, right, we gets into the interview, she's talking. They asked her about Sack and Juvie, what they were like for her or to her, and she described them as, like they made sure I was always okay. Like if we went anywhere to shows or whatever, these were the guys that would like walk me to the bathroom, walk me back to my section, make sure that I'm okay, make sure I had all the things I needed. They were like big brothers to me, how she described them. What was the relationship like with Melly and these guys? They were his brothers, she said. They were close. They went to school together. They grew up together. They this, that, and the other. These guys did everything together. They bonded in the studio. And outside of the studio, they also were always tight. So she is painting this picture that humanizes Melly to the point where when she's done talking, there's no possible way you could look at Melly and say, he did kill both his friends. Make no mistake about it. Her attorney coached her very well before she even did this interview with Law and Crime. And I know somebody is going to say, well, why did she even do the interview with Law and Crime then if it could possibly incriminate her? Well, for one, her and her mom, they are in the crosshairs of the prosecution or the prosecutor for this case. And the reason why they're in the prosecution's crosshair for this case is because they changed their story. They had a story before that pretty much incriminates YNW Melly, but through bribery or through intimidation or through, and these are the means that are supposed and allegedly, through these means, they have decided to change their story, right? So they changed their story and the prosecution is pissed off because they changed their story. The story they had before could help the prosecution win the case, and now they're changing their story to something that could help the prosecution to lose this case. Right. The job of the prosecution is to secure a win, but it's not just a win. It's their duty to get justice for the family and for those two dead guys, Sack and Juvie, who cannot speak for themselves what happened to them because they're no longer here. So the prosecution must compile evidence that speaks profoundly on their behalf, seeking justice on their behalf. We can't just have their killer walking around free, getting away with a double homicide, and definitely also to protect society. Because who wants somebody who is capable of murdering two people at the same time, cold-bloodedly, walking around among us? Anyways, back to the interview with this young lady who is YNW Melly's ex, as she speaks, Mariah Hamilton. During the interview, I noticed a couple of things, right? One of the things was she basically confirmed that there was a fight where Sack did beat up Melly. So remember during the trial when they were trying to establish a motive? Well, what could it have been? One of the things that was spoken about was money, and text messages were shown that showed that Melly and Sack were going head to head. Sack was saying the group is actually his, and he is just letting Melly be the front runner person because he's the first one out the gate. But don't think I'm going to spend the rest of my life running behind you and trying to figure out, running behind people and trying to figure out. Then they spoke about Melly's mom, and Melly said something about his mom has sold her soul, right? And they can do whatever they want if they kill her. And he spoke so nonchalantly about his friends killing his mom, and then shortly after, the friends were dead. I don't know if that was to lure them in, to reel them in, to make them not suspicious of. So here she is. She confirms that there was a fight. But you know how she spoke it. It was like, the story we have out in the streets, right, was that Sack went behind Melly's back because they had already had a falling out. Sack felt the energy. He told it to his family, his close family members, that something is off, right? Something going down. I don't know what it is. I got to keep my eyes open. I don't trust them. Not knowing. So with the relationship soured like that, he apparently had sent some, I don't know what the word is we should use. He sent a nasty pic to this young lady right here. At the time, she was still Melly's girlfriend. Now, how could my homie send his dick pic to my girl? That's completely disrespectful, right? All right. These are the things that were happening before that Juvie's dad even spoke about the fight. So this isn't the first time we've been hearing it, but she confirms it in this interview with Law and Crime. And they asked her, Jesse Weber asked her, so how did it happen? And she was like, well, he just came up and he was like, what's up? And the other one was like, what's up? They spoke for a minute and it was like, so what's up? And then boom, they just started swinging. They swung on each other. They were fighting. Melly's chain popped. They picked up the chain and walked out the studio, and that was it. She didn't deny that a fight happened. She actually confirmed that a fight happened. So in search for a motive why this might have went the way it did, there's one right there. There's one right there. You're fighting me for ownership of this group. You want to take it in the direction you want to take it in. You want to be in an ownership position. All this money coming in, I want to be in control of it. If I get you out the way, I'm the star anyways. So if I get you out the way, I don't have to worry about always fighting with you to make the business part of this thing go right. And then on top of it, you already backstabbed me because you over here sending your dick pics to my girl, which is totally disrespectful. I could take your head off for that. And then you put hands on me and beat me up, pop my chain. Oh, we're done. We're done. So when people say, oh, what could the motive possibly be? Come on, man. We see a lot of motive. Okay. Now, with that said, her confirming that fight, a couple of other things I saw was this. She specifically said, when asked about YNW Melly's mom, she said, his mama crazy though. She crazy for real. When she said that, I want y'all to go back and watch that interview on Law and Crime. Watch her face. Her mom was sitting next to her at this point. It was as if they were scared to have her say anything, right? And her mom, when she said, YNW Melly's mom is crazy though. Yeah, she crazy for real, for real. Look at her mom's face. It was like, oh my God, don't say that. You can't say that because they'll take it another way kind of thing. That's why they had her attorney off to the side, right? She says she's wanted. She's laying low. She's trying to get rid of this subpoena. And her mom already said, if they subpoena me back on trial, when the trial starts, I'm just going to go in there and plead the fifth. I'm not saying nothing. So she has now made up her mind to not cooperate at all, which is going to be an uphill battle for the prosecution, but can also be used to the prosecution's advantage, right? This whole thing, you must understand this. An attorney does not give up their client to be questioned, cross-examined, grilled in an interview by legal heads like Law and Crime without sitting behind the scenes first. So Law and Crime, their representatives would call this young lady's attorney and say, hey, we want to have an interview with your client. Or her lawyer might have called Law and Crime and said, I have my client here who I'm sure you would love to have an interview with. But somewhere in that conversation, they're going to talk about the do's and the don'ts. Do not ask her this. Do not lead her to say that. Don't take her down this route. The goal of this interview, they have to have a goal for this interview before the interview is even done. And their goal for this interview, I believe, was to make them, which is her and her mom, seem as if they are afraid, not of Melly's people and Melly, but they are afraid of the prosecutor in this case. That woman prosecutor in this case. They're supposed to use this interview to humanize Melly, to humanize themselves, to make themselves look like frail, innocent people who had no idea what the hell was going on. They're just caught up in a storm, and the system is trying to get to Melly, and they are just using them as collateral to get there. That's what this interview was about. Right? When asked to describe Melly, she used every sweet word in the book. Sweet, soft, never seen him get angry, never seen him with a gun. Now, that's a damn lie. Never seen him get angry, never seen him with a gun. Had no idea of his gang affiliation. And as she is saying, she had no idea of his gang affiliation. There he is, throwing up gang signs in a video clip with her sitting right by him. But you have no idea about his gang affiliation. If your man, your boyfriend, is doing this and that with his fingers all the time, would you not ask him what that was about? He's not speaking to deaf people. He's not sign languaging. You are from this world. You know what that is about, right? You've been taught to stay away from it. You know what it is. And the funny thing about Melly is this. Melly doesn't just throw up one gang sign. Melly does what's called stacking. So, in other words, then, if you're a newbie to the hand sign world, gangster world of hand signing, you might be able to put up like one or two. If you're an expert almost at this, then you can speak a whole paragraph. And Melly is able to speak a whole paragraph, stacking, fingers up, sign. And his girlfriend sat there, ex-girlfriend, sat there in that interview and said she had no idea. The mama said, I had never even seen him with a gun. And I'm saying to myself, come on now. You've never even seen him with a gun? Like, what guy that is dating your daughter that's 17 years old, what guy is going to come to the mom and be like, yeah, I'm dating your daughter. I got the Draco outside with a 100-round drum on it sitting in the back seat. I got this old 45 Desert Eagle right here under my shirt. I tote guns. You mind if I take this out and rest it on your center table, throw my feet up on the coffee table for a minute? If a guy is dating a girl, you don't reveal to her parents, to her mom, that you carry a gun around. You don't show her. that you have a gun. So of course she's gonna come and say, "Oh, I've never even seen him with a gun. I knew nothing about him being affiliated or in any gang." And I'm like, come on. Then they went and said they changed their stories. The mom is over there, and so is the girl, trying to make it seem as if the enemy, the real enemy, is the prosecutor. I have never seen this in my life. How did the prosecutor become the enemy when the prosecutor's job is to prosecute? Right? The prosecutor's job is to prosecute. The prosecutor's job also is to get people to talk who did not want to talk. Get people to talk who they believe are holding information that could help them to get justice for the victims. That's their job. She's over there in the interview. The mom is saying, "Oh, this is personal," as if the woman just doesn't like me, kind of thing. That woman didn't know you before you were connected to this case. She's trying to get justice for a family and for two young men, for two families and two young men. And it so happens that it will or should end in the conviction of somebody that you're trying to save, who might have bribed you or intimidated you into not saying what it is you are supposed to say, which is the truth. So this is where the mom and the daughter have put together that their stories that they told to the detectives before, those stories were only told to the detectives that way because that's what the detectives wanted to hear. And the detectives had them feeling like they were going to go to prison or jail if they did not say things the way how the detectives wanted them to say it. Now that's damaging. So here's a witness willing to take the stand to say, "I only said what you wanted me to say because you were intimidating me." This is the stance that both this young lady and her mother has taken. At the end of the day, I still believe that YNW Melly is guilty. I still believe that the prosecution did an awesome job in putting all of this together. I just believe that in the next trial, which is coming up shortly, because it starts on October 9th, I do believe that all they need to do is trim all the fat off this case. All the extra chatter and all that, narrow it down to where the jury, the jurors, do not lose attention. Humans' attention span short these days. So narrow it down to where everything could be understood. Compile that book into a small book report and deliver it to them with impact. He's going down. I know there's a lot of people that are still saying, "Nope, free Melly and whatever," but we'll see how it ends. Anything can happen. He can walk as well as he could get convicted. But we'll see how it goes from there. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Tell me what you got from watching the interview of Mariah Hamilton, YNW Melly's ex, and Law and Crime Jesse Weber. And I'll catch you on the next video. It's Hot Topics TV. I'm out. Peace.